Mia, my daughter. And one thing I'll never forget is that she had a lot of hair when she was born. That kind of blew me away. Jet black.
Welcome to Still a Part of Us, a place where moms and dads share the story of their child who was stillborn or who died in infancy. I'm Winter.
And I'm Lee. We are grateful you joined us today. Please note that this is a story of loss and has triggers.
Thanks to our lost parents who are willing to be vulnerable and share their children with us.
If you're listening to this podcast, just know that on our YouTube channel there are pictures and videos that are related to the stories that are being shared.
Subscribe and share it with a friend that might need it, and tell them to subscribe. Why? Because people need to know that even though our babies are no longer with us, they're still a part of us.
Cody, thank you so much for coming and being on the podcast and being willing to come and talk about your daughter, Mia. And it was fun to talk to you a little bit about your sports passion and about your music passion and all that's going on. You know, we talked about the Misfits. We talked about the football. We talked about your love for all things that you deem as wonderful. It's good to talk and just to connect with you. So thank you for coming out.
Thanks, Lee. Happy to be here.
Well, thank you. And I'm excited to talk with you about your experience as a father who has lost their child. So can you tell me a little bit about yourself, about how you met your wife, Lindsay, and about how you started to plan for a family? I don't know too much about how you and Lindsay met, how long ago that was. You know, give me a brief personal history about you and your wife, Lindsay.
Sure, happy to. So I'm Cody, and Lindsay and I met in the fall of 2007 when we were both teenagers. And it was just one of those things. She had moved up from New Jersey, and we were both on MySpace, if you can believe it. And we both went to local community colleges here in New Hampshire because, we're both pretty young. And we just started talking, and then we met one day, and we drove down to Boston together. And, here we are 14 plus years later, and that's history. So, like I said, been together for 14 years now. We've been married for 7. And basically, right after we got married, within a year or two, we decided, we always knew we wanted to have a big family. And because I come from a huge family, she comes from a decent sized family, but we both knew what we wanted. And, right after we got married, we were like, yeah, I think we can start trying, if you will. And it was kind of a struggle. It took a few years, and, there were a lot of things that Lindsay had to go through physically to be able to be, I guess you would say, healthy enough to get pregnant.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it was a long go, but once Lindsay was able to get pregnant, basically, first try, it was as easy as it could possibly be. And that was, goodness, I think she told me she was pregnant in March of 2020.
2020.
Right before COVID, really, we're talking, I think she told me the week before everything shut down.
Oh,
basically.
Man.
Yeah.
This got to be sort of a bittersweet, here you, if you've been married for 7 years and then been trying for maybe about 5 years.
Give or take, yeah.
And, the wonderful joy of being able to conceive and have a pregnancy, then COVID hits and you have to sort of social distance. It's got to be sort of bittersweet to, tell the world, come celebrate with us, but do it 6 feet apart, please. So
yeah. That's a good point. And so basically Lynn's told her parents, and we were able to go there, regardless of we were supposed to or not.
Yeah.
We didn't,
well,
whatever.
You're in your pod. What was it called? Yeah. Your pod, your group, or tribe?
I don't know. No, this was so early. There might not even been pods yet.
Oh.
In COVID, whatever. It's fine. But
we're not going to report you.
So we were able to tell them in person, which was really nice. We were able to tell my mom in person, her siblings. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure we told her siblings in person. No, actually, we didn't. Whatever. It's so
long ago. It's so long ago.
It really is a blur, and it's been a little while. But what I remember specifically was I couldn't tell my best friends in person. That really bothered me tremendously, because I remember it was I think it was a Monday night, and it was like, okay, it's time to tell them. and I'm not going to see him again for who knows how long. And I basically had to set up like a Zoom call, which is fine, now, but like at the time I felt cheated a little bit. Yeah. That's what we had to do.
No, do they just live outside of the area or just?
No, not even. They live 20 minutes away. It just kind of, because Linz was pregnant, we were being very, very safe. Right.
Yeah.
So it didn't really make sense to go over there and tell them and wear a mask. And why am I going over there anyway? They're going to know something's up. They're going to smell the rat. Yeah. So, basically we had to do it that way. And it was cool because we ended up having a 2-3 hour conversation, which was wonderful. But I wish it was in person.
Yeah.
So that's one takeaway I remember from, that COVID kind of ripped away, was being able to tell people in person and see genuine reactions. And that kind of bothered me a little bit, but I was so over the moon, that we were pregnant. That was fantastic.
Well, that's wonderful. And so this is the beginning of March, right?
Yeah.
March. Yep. I don't know how the weather is out in New Hampshire. Are you guys living in New Hampshire at the time?
Yeah, absolutely.
March here in Salt Lake it's becoming the muddy season where it's it's just ugly and muddy and stuff like that. So was it wonderful weather? Was it wonderful, crisp, cool? Or were you in the nor'easterns and stuff like that?
So here's what I'll tell you. So being in the Northeast, things stay colder for longer. Things stay frozen for longer. So basically February is awful because it's so cold, but it's only 28 days. March comes, and March is February part 2, but it's 31 days. So it's not muddy, it's frozen, and it's cold. Yeah. And it's exciting because you're like, okay, baseball season starts in April. Baseball season means warm. No, it's not.
Not there.
March is really becoming like the worst month of the year up here because it should be warmer and it's not. So what I remember about that is that it was cold, because it's cold every year in March, but it never changes.
Yeah, it just gives you a reason to stay inside, cuddle up,
Oh, for sure.
Loving on the baby that's growing in the belly.
100%. And that's what we did.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And so, during the pregnancy, everything seemed to be going well. Were you able to go to some of the doctor appointments, checkups, and stuff like that?
Yeah. So I think if I remember correctly, and you got to bear with me here, but I was able to go to all of her appointments that were at. Yeah, no, I was able to go to almost all of them, but there weren't that many. But I was able to go, and it was great. And I was able to go, to the ultrasound and all of that stuff, and it was great. I don't think I was supposed to, but I think they let me. I don't know. I think that they just, Lindsay's the kind of person that they're not going to say no to because she's got that New Jersey attitude, but also because she's such a wonderful person that you don't want to say no to her. But no, I was able to go to all of her appointments and it was great. And as for the pregnancy, besides in April, she had to have her gallbladder out. Basically emergency gallbladder surgery. When I say emergency, I don't mean that night, but basically, within 2 days, she had to set up a Zoom call with the surgeon to go over, okay, well, we got to get you in ASAP. ASAP in COVID time still meant 2 days. It didn't mean that night. So that was kind of traumatic, because Linz was at that time, she might've been 6 to 8 weeks pregnant. If that, I don't know exactly how long, but I remember going to the hospital and they had to they were going to put her under and everything. And they got to make sure the baby has a heartbeat and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. I'll never forget when she came out of it, she was still kind of wiped out, from going under, but they were having trouble finding the baby's heartbeat. Oh. And at this point, we're having a wonderful pregnancy. Nothing had happened. Yeah. There was no reason for us to worry about anything. But I'll never forget, Lynn started to cry because it just took the nurse a little bit longer than maybe it usually does. But then they found it and it was fine. But that's one thing I'll take away from the early part of the pregnancy that was a little scary, was that 5 minutes where they couldn't find the heartbeat. When she had her gallbladder out. Other than that, though, it was a perfect pregnancy up to that point.
I was going to say that 5 minutes probably aged you 5 years. So
yeah, it didn't really age me because I really wasn't concerned. I'm more of a glasses half full when it comes to health kind of a person. but Lynn's definitely aged her 5 years. You wouldn't know it. She looks great, but that's, I think it, it did.
You were mentioning that you were excited to start a family, to have a big family. So how were you feeling during the pregnancy? Were you extremely excited? Were you sort of like, oh my goodness, we're going to be parents? Like, I got to start, like, I got to get a 401k. I got to get a Roth. I got to buy land. I got to, I've got to trade in my Ferrari for a minivan.
Oh, goodness. No. So yes and no to a couple of those things. So basically, as for the financials of it, I really wasn't concerned about that. I'm fortunate enough. I'm a commercial banker, and I've got my head on my shoulders when it comes to finances. So I really wasn't that concerned about that, which I'm grateful for, because I know for a lot of people that is a huge worry. But no, it's funny. The thing I was worried the most about, assembling things, because I'm terrible at assembling things. And if there's one thing that's well known, that's Dad's job. So I was really concerned about having to do that. And every day she got more pregnant, I was like, oh man, I got to worry about assembling this crib. I got to, this dresser I don't know how to take care of. And I still don't know how to do those things. But that was my primary concern, realistically. But everything else we were so ready because we tried for so long. I was just we were so excited, to be there. But no, it was assembling things that worried me the most. I was not concerned about anything else.
Anything else except for a well-made crib.
Yeah. Well, well made, sure. Well assembled, probably not.
Oh man, because I've always been a little bit handy myself.
Oof.
But my thing is, if it doesn't fit properly, I can finagle something else to work, so it will work. And I was assembling the crib, and one bolt didn't work properly. And I was like, no, I'll just drill another hole, and I'll put another bolt in there, no problem. And as I'm about to drill it, I'm like, wait a second, this is for a child. This is for a child that will take this bolt and suck on it, and if the nut falls off the bolt, all of a sudden the bolt, and I was like, I should probably read the instructions. And I was like, I was doing something wrong, of course, but yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
you might be able to because you're handy, you might be able to fix a little bit of an issue, make something work. I just break it, and then I got to buy it all over. And then hopefully someone else will assemble it for me. What a pain. But what a joy.
Yeah.
Like the thought of it, to think that I'm assembling my child's crib is really an exciting thing, but it didn't help me get any better at it.
Yeah.
I'm happy to say.
The love of doing it did not improve your skills at doing it. So
no, not at all. It's just not my thing. I could do math, but I can't do that.
Oh, hey, that's an awesome little tidbit. Was there anything else that you were like extremely excited about, or something that was, that was happening that you're like, oh my goodness, here we are, the beginning of the pregnancy is March, 9 months later, you're going to be about Christmas time, delivery, were you guys getting excited for, maybe a Thanksgiving or an early Christmas child or something, or?
Yeah, so her due date was November 12th, and we were really excited about that because she has a lot of, in her family, there's a lot of November birthdays, and they love Thanksgiving together. And that's a little before Thanksgiving, obviously.
But you could celebrate as a family.
You always hear, your first pregnancy, they tend to go a week long or whatever it might be. So it's like, maybe we will have close to Thanksgiving for a baby. But we're both born in July. We're both Cancers. I'm born in July. She's June. And I don't know. The time of the year, November, I was like, she's gonna be a little old for her class. I don't know. That's good and bad. I don't know how I feel about that because I was always younger for my class, so I thought about things like that. But no, I mean, it was just I was just excited to just have someone to play with and to mess around, do little wrestling moves with, and things like that. And this is probably something I don't know if a lot of dads might talk about this, but I felt like Lynn's being pregnant, it was legitimizing me as a person and as a man, because I've always, in my relationship with Lindsay, I've always wanted to be able to say that we've done everything that a couple can do. If it's like a chart, when you look at Neanderthal man to where we are now, it's like, you date, you get engaged, you get married, you go down the list. Having a child is the last thing basically on that. So like it made me feel like a legitimate adult, a man, not just a boy child. Because I'm a little boisterous of a person, and a lot of people who knew me as a kid might think that guy's gonna be a dad. No, like you don't understand. Like I'm really excited to do this. I'm gonna be good at it. So it's like it was legitimizing me as and this is probably the first time I've ever even said this out loud, but basically that's the truth of it. And I was really excited to, to feel that, and nothing could take that away.
And it's not just legitimizing you, it's also giving you an opportunity to, as you're an adult, as you're a man, to help your own child fulfill and optimize themselves as well. And it's not just like, I'm a man, see you later, peace out. But it's like,
of course,
I'm a man and I've got to help you realize who you are. So
yeah, that's a great point. And I didn't mention that, but I probably should have. But yeah, that's a huge thing, to be able to positively impact someone's life who has no option of you not doing that for them because they're your child. It's like, I'm going to be here at any time, always, no matter what you want. You're going to get some positive reinforcement at all times, and you're going to get good advice and all those things. And I was so excited to do those things. What you're told, I should have talked about that, but you're totally right.
Yeah.
And that's probably the biggest thing for me, because I didn't really have a lot of that as a kid. My dad's around. My dad's a great guy. I got no problems with my dad, but he wasn't always there physically because he lived a little further away.
Yeah.
And things like that. So it's like I was really looking forward to being like, I'm going to be here for 24/7 every day of the year. You can't get me away.
You're going to be suffocated by my love.
Yeah, you're going to be so bored by all of my stories. You're going to hate all my music. I don't care. But I'm going to be here at all times. You can't get away from me. And I was really looking forward to that.
Well, good. Now let's talk about further on in the pregnancy. Spring, summer, everything going well? Everything?
Yeah, I mean, it was wonderful because, basically, because of COVID, we were both working from home and we weren't really doing much. But the pregnancy was going great. There were no issues that even if something might have happened, like she might have been spotting one day or something. If she didn't call her doctor, she didn't tell me about it. So I wasn't aware. So, we would basically just, do our thing. And then on the weekends when the weather turned, we would go for a drive. And, because in COVID times, like
that's all you
can't
can do.
Go anywhere, but no one can stop you from driving and then going home as long as you stay in your car. But we would go on drives, and, I have a little convertible and we're not too far from the seacoast. So we would drive over to the seacoast, Hampton Beach area, Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and just enjoy it and just really enjoy all the joy of being pregnant and being pregnant in the summer. Yeah. Because, like I said, we're both cancers. We both love the summer. So Lynn's she got into her second trimester and she was glowing, and it was just, everything was going great and we were having a blast, and it was just really fun. Yeah. We were really having a great time. There's nothing of note that I remember her telling me that didn't go, besides her gallbladder. That was the only thing I can really think of. And even that was
early too. That was earlier in the pregnancy.
That was first trimester. As far as I know, it was in April. So it had to have been. Yeah. So no, everything was going, it was really what I would say was a perfect pregnancy from the outside, from everything I could tell.
Now let's talk about when it turned from being a perfect pregnancy to a terrible, terrible situation.
Yeah.
What happened with how did she tell you what something was going wrong? Or
so this is something I really can't forget. So it was a Tuesday, and it was mid-afternoon, and I was working from home, and I remember I was on the phone with a coworker of mine talking about the cost of daycare. And I was like, oh man, it's expensive. And I was like, oh, gotta go. Lynn's FaceTiming. So she had texted me that she was spawning a little bit, and that I'm not good with I don't know, her doctor.
Yeah.
Whatever the heck.
OBGYN or.
Yeah. OBGYN had said, hey, you know what, for peace of mind, just come on in and just to get, I'm sure it's nothing. And then I was like, okay. And like I said, I'm a glass half full when it comes to health, guys. So I was like, she's fine. Then she was FaceTiming me. I'm like, why the She FaceTime. This is crazy. So I answered it, and it was her and her OBGYN. And she was kind of like pale as a ghost almost, it seemed like. And it turns out she didn't have any information at this point. Her doctor telling her she had to call me scared her so bad that it took the color away from her skin.
Oh.
So I answered it, and it was a FaceTime, and it was her and her OBGYN. And they were like, hey, there was some spotting, and we're going to have to take Linz over to the hospital. They're in the same building. They're in the same parking lot.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to pull her over. Why don't you come by? I'm like, okay, no problem. No issues. I'm not worried. And then I got there, and, Linz was in the gown and everything. And at that point, it was kind of a wait and see. We weren't really sure. We just knew that she was spotting. But we didn't really know, exactly what could happen. And then, so I guess the doctors had said, we need something with her. I don't know. This is, like I said, this is the stuff that she knows that I don't know that well. Basically, labor had basically started, but to a minimal point.
Okay.
And they may be able to, not reverse it, but slow it or something like that with a procedure called a cerclage, which I guess is they put a stitch into the, I don't know.
Cervix, I think. Right?
Cervix, yeah, exactly. And basically that stops it from contracting or whatever it might be. So I remember, I got there at maybe 4:00 in the afternoon, 3:00. And at no point while any of this is being talked about did I think anything bad was going to happen. I thought, okay, no problem, and then they were like, okay, well, with this, cerclage, this stitch, she might have to be on bed rest, modified bed rest, basically, for the next, till she gets to 32, 36 weeks along. And, but other than that, maybe everything should be just fine. That's what I was hearing.
Yeah. Now, how far along were you guys?
22 weeks, 6 days.
22.
So we were 23 that Wednesday at midnight, basically. So, pretty early,
Yeah.
So, we're in the hospital and we're talking, and, both of us are kind of relatively upbeat as much as you can be while you're in the hospital.
Yeah.
And basically the doctor had said, if we get this thing in, it'll be tomorrow that we do it. And then, it should hopefully do its job. And then, the baby will come out healthy and everyone will be happy. But they made sure to tell us that everything had to go well tonight. And by go well, meaning she didn't have, her labor didn't progress, water didn't break, whatever it might be. So at some point in the night, I don't know exactly what time it was, after midnight, she had gone to the bathroom, and it was basically, she had a lot of bleeding. And even at that time, I didn't understand what was going on, but I think she started to. So they brought her back to the hospital bed, and they kind of did they checked what was going on, and basically it was the point of no return, if you will, with the labor. So her doctor had told us, they're like, listen, you're going to meet your baby today, no matter what, basically. So you're going to give birth, but you're not going to be going home as a family, basically, is what they told us. And I didn't even think that was a possibility, because when you're young, when you don't have kids, when you don't talk to people about what they're going, I don't know, I couldn't have told you a single person who had a stillbirth before this. I couldn't tell you one person in my life.
Yeah.
Because when am I going to talk about that? And when are they going to talk to me about that? They're not.
And you're never looking for it too. Yeah. It's like,
doesn't exist, right? So it's like, I'm in there and I'm like, wait, this is I know it's a possibility because I've heard the term, basically.
Yeah.
But I was like, wait a second. I thought, all that can really happen is, you might have a miscarriage in the first 12 weeks or whatever, or, or your baby goes to term and doesn't have a heartbeat, or I didn't think about the from first trimester to 40 weeks, the possibility of this happening.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was like, wait, what? And this is where I don't have really much memory of finding out the inevitable and her being born, because I was on the phone with Lindsay's mom. and I was calling my mom and my dad, and just I know those phone calls were tough,
Yeah.
and they were also like 3 a.m. So I couldn't imagine how they were for everyone else. But yeah, it was my job just to kind of tell them, hey, we're in the hospital. I think they already knew we were in the hospital. I was like, hey, things took a turn, and we're not coming home as a family. So I'll keep you in the loop, and just try to be strong for Lynn's over the next couple hours. But honestly, it was. I'll never. There's nothing that could ever make you feel like that again. I don't think it's possible on the list of things that can happen to you that there's something worse than this that can happen.
Yeah.
And I, it, my mind is still kind of blown that it even happened. Realistically,
I remember when the doctors told us that they couldn't find a heartbeat. It was like you were saying. I never thought of a stillbirth. I never knew anybody when they said there is no heartbeat, your baby's dead. It really was just a kick in the teeth. Like, what do you mean? Do your job, you idiot, and find the heartbeat. We have a baby in there. Just do your stupid job and find the heartbeat. And it was like, no, there is none. Like, we have tried, and it really was like hard for me to get my mind around that something happened. What happened, nobody knows, but something happened.
yeah,
And I'm sure it was just the biggest drop for you to hear, hey, here you guys are 23 weeks pregnant and you're going to be giving birth. It's got to be just the biggest drop on you. That, how do you even comprehend that? Because you were saying that when they told you, yeah, we'll do the cerclage. If everything works great, she'll be on modified bed rest. But when she went to the bathroom and there was continuous bleeding, and they did say, hey, you're going to be giving birth. How did you come to the realization? Was it a complete denial for a couple moments, or was it just like complete onset of despair and pain, or what did you feel?
yeah. So the one thing I failed to mention was that they told us that Mia was going to be born, but that she could be born with a heartbeat. It was a possibility, basically, that because you're up, she's up to the heart monitor with Lindsay and the baby, and
Yeah.
she was breathing. They said there's a better chance than not that she won't, but that's what's a little bit different than what you guys went through, is that because the labor had started, that's why
Yeah.
that's why Mia was going to be born, and that's why she was probably going to be not have a heartbeat, was because of the cervix, basically. And I guess what I felt was I just wanted to be strong for Lynn's. That's it. Like I heard it kind of like blew me back, like it was a wind gust or something. And then I was like, oh, okay, this is happening. And I just looked over at Lynn's, and I just wanted to make sure that she was okay. And she started crying, and I started crying, but I don't think it really hit me, really at that time. I didn't think it was, because they said she might have a heartbeat, whatever. I was still like, oh, maybe she'll be fine,
Yeah.
because it's just until you go through this or talk about it,
Yeah.
you cannot understand physically what is going on. I'm a man. I don't know, so all I know is what I'm hearing. So I had to be basically a dump truck dumping sod on my head of, your baby's going to be born. This is what's going to happen. All we can do is wait. So all I could do was just make sure Lynn's was
That's good. Yeah.
as good a spirits as she could be, which it was impossible. And I felt, I don't know what I felt. I really think I went into protection mode for my wife. I think all of my emotion went to the side. Didn't exist for months, if I'm being honest. We can talk about that later, I'm sure. But basically, all I cared about in that moment was making sure Lindsay was okay, and knowing that I had to make those phone calls to our family, knowing that was my job. But yeah, like I said, emotionally, I kind of went black. I don't really have any memory of that, specifically how it made me feel.
Yeah.
In that moment.
Yeah, and it's amazing what the body will do to protect itself, what the mind will do to protect itself. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's tough.
yeah. So, how long was Lindsay in labor for?
Well, I guess it all depends on when her labor started, right? But let's just say it was when she went to the bathroom. I'd say
Hmm.
it was less than 6 or 7 hours total until Mia was born. She was born at 9:52 a.m. on that Wednesday, so Lindsay was 23 weeks, and yeah, it was Lindsay was going through a lot. It was a lot of pain, and like that's the one thing I couldn't wrap my head around is that Lindsay's going through all of this pain, all that goes along with giving birth just to get our baby out of her. That's it. That's it. Not so our baby could be born and to take home and to have a wonderful life, just so because that's what had to happen. And I couldn't believe that Lindsay had to go through that. It was like, are you freaking kidding me? This is horse crap. Like, are you serious?
Yeah.
I was mad. I was very, very angry. Is how I felt at that time. And I just wanted to make sure that she was as comfortable as she could be, and tried to get her to get an epidural, and she resisted because I think she felt guilty. She felt like
Yeah.
this was partially her fault, even though it's not. Like clinically, it's not her. None of this could have been avoided. But she just felt, I just want to make her feel like she wasn't at fault. So I just, want to make her as comfortable as possible. And doing that was her getting the epidural. So she got that, which took a little pressure off her, physically.
Hmm.
Didn't take any pressure off her emotionally. At least, it kind of got things moving. And yeah, so what I think happened, and I don't know for sure, but I think Mia passed while Lindsay was pushing, basically, when she was born. She was born sleeping, and that unimaginable, absolutely unimaginable. Because they took her and they put her on us, and imagine everybody's crying. When your baby's born, living with a
Yeah.
heartbeat or without one, and she was just so small, and she didn't really seem like she was like her height seemed perfectly normal. She just seemed really, really thin. Kind of blew my mind. I just couldn't believe that she was here. I couldn't believe that she wasn't
Yeah.
at the same time, And we held her for, I couldn't tell you how long. Probably not as long as it should have been, but I don't know. I felt so helpless and cheated, angry. Never angry at Linz. I
Hmm.
I just wanted,
Yeah.
I just, no matter how she felt about what happened, I never felt that. I never, there was no blame, nobody's fault. It just kind of, it happened. I never felt like she was less than. I never felt like, she might tell you how she felt about herself. None of that was true, or how I felt. And I just wanted to make sure that she felt okay. Yeah. So, we held Mia for probably an hour. I don't know exactly how long. And then the doctors kind of let us have our family time, like I guess they do.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, everything, it's not really a blur. Like, I remember, they said, okay, you have your time together, and then we're gonna take some pictures of her, and then a social worker type person's gonna come
Yeah.
in, and
Come
then
and
a
talk with
funeral
you.
director person's gonna come in, and they're gonna talk about, what happens from here. But it's like, I remember Lindsay and I being like, okay, thank you. Yeah, okay, sounds good. But it's like, what? like,
Yeah.
like, don't even tell me. Just have them come in. Like, I don't want to know what's about. I don't want to. I don't want to know that I have to talk to somebody about
Yeah.
this. Are you serious? And everyone was wonderful.
Yeah.
All the nurses, all the doctors, everyone was great. We were very fortunate to be in a wonderful hospital. But I remember us being very polite to everyone, way more polite than we probably should
You
have been.
should. And
You
it's
know?
also hard to process. Like when you're in such shock and grief, it's hard to process. Like when people, like when you were saying, like, this person's going to come in, this person's going to come in. It's like I can't process that on top of everything else. And just how you said, just have them come in. Be merciful. Just have them come in, and
Yeah.
don't expect me to process and to understand what's going on. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And I don't think that they did. I mean, maybe
yeah.
they didn't. I just remember like, okay, this is going to happen, then this, then this. And it was
Mhm.
just like, okay, all right, I guess send them in.
Whatever.
And I
Yeah.
and I remember, I don't know if it was somebody at the hospital, or if it was somebody from the funeral home. They were just like, okay, well, so this is what's going to happen. it's all of this is free of charge. Basically, it's just
Mhm.
something that we do for bereaved parents, basically. Which you'd think, oh, that's so nice. I didn't care. I didn't care about that. That's the last thing I care about. I probably would have felt better if I had to pay for it. Maybe, I don't know. It's something I probably still haven't dealt with, if I'm being honest, a year and a half later. But that was a nice service they offered, and it was a cremation service, and so they told us, this is the day she'll be cremated, and then you could pick her up this time, and then this is how that works. And they called us to tell us when she was being cremated, and we went over, and I guess the funeral home, whatever it's called, is like a mile from where our old house was,
Uh-huh.
and we went down there, and beautiful in there. It felt very, very warm as it can. It was like a very tall ceilings, kind of like marble. I kind of felt like I was in Europe
Oh yeah.
almost. It was really, really beautiful. And there was different rooms where obviously you would have a service,
Mhm.
and they took us in there, and I probably talked to Linz about this. I don't know if I have, but they took us in the room, and the urn was so small that I didn't realize it was the urn.
Mhm.
They just took us in there, and I'm like, okay, when are we gonna get her? That's what I was thinking. And it was like this. Basically, I can't even make the size, like
Yeah.
this big of an urn. It's tiny.
Well, about a
Why
small.
wouldn't it be?
Yeah,
Yeah,
about the size of an egg. Like.
yeah, basically, that's exactly
Yeah.
what it was, and it's beautiful. And like I said, it was free of charge. I'm not complaining. I just wasn't ready for that,
Yeah.
because all I'd ever seen is the urns that my grandparents were in, which are regular shaped, sized, not shaped. So I thought it would be the same thing, so I wasn't really ready for that. And
Yeah.
it's something that's like, she was born at 23 weeks and she was tiny.
Yeah.
I have this tiny freaking urn compared to a regular sized urn. It kind of felt was like a slap in the face.
It's just a constant reminder that.
Constant reminder, and I don't think of it now. We, obviously we have it.
Yeah.
It's been a year and a half, and it's just a beautiful urn now. But in the moment, I was like, man, this sucks.
Yeah.
Like, and Linz and I know we both felt that same way. Like, this little tiny urn, like, come on,
Yeah.
this is all she is. But that's that's that. I don't.
It is what it is. Yeah.
That's just what it is. I mean,
It
yeah,
sucks.
I don't remember anything else from the hospital
It sucks.
besides us going home.
Yeah. How
You
was
know,
that? How far away was your home from the hospital?
so at that time, maybe 3 miles. It really wasn't far. So
Mm.
we had, when I had made the phone calls. So I made phone calls saying what was going to happen, and then I made other phone calls once it did. Once
Mhm.
Mia was born, when she
Yeah.
was born. And Lindsay's family. So Lindsay's from New Jersey originally, and the only people who are up here are parents. So her brother, who lives in New York, and her sister, who was in New Jersey, and her aunt and uncle, who were in New Jersey, basically dropped everything and came up. So they were going to be at the house, basically waiting for us,
Mhm.
as well as her best friend, who is from New Jersey, funny enough, but lives up here now. She married one of my best friends. But yeah, so basically they were going to be at the house waiting, getting us food, basically, and
Mhm.
be there for us mentally and physically, which was great. So one thing that I really wanted, once nothing else was needed from us at the hospital, was to get home as quickly as
Yeah.
possible. There was no
Just
need to be in that
yeah, to escape that.
horrible,
Yeah.
horrible place. And because of COVID, I really didn't see anybody because Linz was pregnant. It's like you have this pandemic that we have no idea. I mean, this is July of last year. Like, this is
Yeah.
4 months in. We still were being told this was the end of the world in terms of don't be next to people.
Yeah.
If there's one thing you can do, socially distance. So I didn't see anybody. She was pregnant in March for 4 months. So we kind of were like, oh, she's not pregnant anymore. Okay. We could see people, and we need to see people
Yeah.
because we can't get through this alone. So we just want to get out of the hospital as quickly as we can. And I remember Linz got dressed and she looked completely different. All of her Mia pregnancy weight gone. She looked exactly like she looked the day she told me she was pregnant. And that was like, are you kidding me? It kind of just blew my mind. Like, this isn't fair. You've always thought, oh, a woman gives birth and then it takes a little bit of a time for her to get back to her quote unquote regular weight. And Lynn's, because I don't know, maybe it's because she was so early on. Yeah, she was back to looking like her old self again, which was ridiculous to me and completely unfair. Like we're already slapped in the face with the fact that our daughter was born and died, and now Lynn's has to look in the mirror and know it, and really know it, that she's not pregnant anymore. Kind of blew my mind. So that's the last thing I remember at the hospital. And then we went home, and I don't even know. I mean, it was just so much crying and people just being there for us physically and obviously mentally. But the people who were there at the house, they really knew, because they're so close to us. They knew what they should and shouldn't do, kind of more than I expected.
Yeah.
You know, like they didn't press, they didn't ask crazy questions, they didn't expect anything of us. They knew that if Lynn just wanted to go sleep, let her do it.
Yeah.
You know, and then that was really necessary, because I really need people in my life to help me, you know. So, you know, Lynn's might have just wanted to go sleep for 6 hours. I needed someone to keep my mind going, you know, for
at
6
least
hours.
Be there with you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm very grateful for her family for doing that. You know, really, really helped tremendously those couple days.
That's good. And it really is one of those things where I remember some days just, I don't want to see anybody. I just want to be holed up by myself. And then some days it was like, like you were saying, I need somebody there to get my mind off of it. And it wasn't necessarily like I don't want to talk about it, but if we talk about it, awesome. Or if we just talk about random crap, you know, about statistics and, you know, the soccer game that I didn't watch, I'd love to talk about that as well, you know. And I'm glad that you were saying that the people knew you well enough to know what you and Lindsay needed. After the horror of what had happened, what should have been a fabulously beautiful experience, I'm sure there was some beauty in the birth of Mia, but there's also the horror that comes afterwards. And that there were people around you who knew exactly what you needed. Must have been just a beautiful respite from some of the horror. So
yeah, it was really nice. And I don't know where we would be without that, because once we found out Mia was coming, all I cared about was Lynn's. I just wanted to make sure that her needs were met as in any way that I can do it. I was going to make sure that I was going to, even it hurt my health, honestly, to do that. So when we got home, and, you know, I remember first couple of days, I might've cried a little bit, you know, and I'm kind of I like keeping my emotion. I'm a very emotional person, but that's why Lynn's in the room with us right now. I need to do this alone. In the shower, you know, I was like, okay, I'll take a shower to allow myself to feel how I need to feel right now, because I can't do it in front of all these people. I got to go be alone. And I remember being in the shower, and I just broke down. You know, this is like a day or two after, and it's so awful to feel like that, but it feels so good to let everything out, because your body needs you wouldn't be crying if you didn't need it. You know, so it's like, it was so wonderful. And then it didn't happen for 3 months. Basically, I didn't feel a thing till October.
What happened in October?
I don't know exactly what led to this, but basically, it was Sunday night. Lynn's was, you know, I think she was sleeping. It wasn't like late, you know, it might have been 9 o'clock at night, but she might have like fallen asleep on the couch. I was watching football. It was the Saints and Buccaneers, and it was the game where the Buccaneers just got murdered by the Saints. I hate the Saints, so I'll never forget that. And I wasn't even watching the game. It was there, but I didn't see it. It was just basically like I was sitting on the couch and I couldn't even think, didn't realize I was breathing. I just felt a weight, I just felt like a wall was collapsing in on me with emotion. And I was just like, it was totally a panic attack without question. And I was just like, okay, I gotta get out of this, gotta get off this couch, and I gotta go lay in bed, because nothing bad can happen to you if you're laying in bed. You know, you can't, like, that's where you're the most comfortable, you're the most safe. So I went there, I told Linz, I'm like, hey, come with me. Because I was like, something's about to happen. I didn't know what it was, but I knew I was about to have an emotional breakthrough
Yeah.
finally with my grief, and I wanted Linz to be there with me. And I just started bawling, crying, like you've never seen. Like it was crazy, and I let it all out, let it happen. Fell asleep, and then decided to basically. We decided, I'm going to call a therapist because I need to. I need to feel,
Mm-hmm.
and I need to be pushed maybe to feel because I knew what we went through. I'll never want to go through again, but I don't want to go through what I went through that night ever again as well.
Yeah.
So whatever I need to do to get healthy, to start grieving, to feel this, I'm going to do it. And I thought the best thing to do was to start going to therapy. That's what I did, and the grieving began, and it was the best thing I could have done.
Well, thank you for sharing that. A lot of people think I could do it on my own, and
You can. Oh.
and nobody truly can do it on their own. And it takes a big man to say, this is enough. I do need to find the help that I need. So thank you for saying that. Because I did counseling as well, and it was very helpful for me. It's one of those things where not enough people do it. So
Yeah. I think for me, it wasn't, I wanted to figure out why I wasn't feeling.
mm-hmm.
I basically didn't. It was I cannot describe. For the next 3 months after she was born on July 15th, I didn't have a single emotional feeling.
Yeah, it was like Novocaine. It was
Basically, yeah,
Novocaine.
I was numb, and I don't drink. I don't have any kind of. I don't do anything in my life to make me feel impaired, to feel different, to do anything. I basically just. I don't even drink that much caffeine. I don't drink coffee. So it's like I didn't have anything to make me feel numb. I just was numb. It was crazy, and I knew that wasn't healthy, but I didn't know how to kickstart the grieving.
Yeah.
And my body just said, "It's been 3 months, sir. Like it is time."
It has been bottled up too much.
And you can't do that. I mean, basically, I think I got lucky with what happened after. In that, who knows what could have happened with that episode? Like if I wasn't home, or who knows how much worse it could have been. And nobody deserves to go through what we went through, but nobody should have to feel how I felt about not feeling grief. Like I felt guilt about it. I really felt guilty that like Lindsay was going through everything that you would expect from a mother who just gave birth to a child that died. And I felt nothing. I just felt love for my wife, and I felt anger, and I felt cheated, but I didn't feel any. When I say I felt numb to the grief. I had no.
Yeah.
I just felt I was really pissed, and I just want to make sure my wife was happy as much as she could be, which is impossible.
Yeah.
But I felt nothing, and I wanted to grieve. That's the thing. I just didn't know how to do it. So therapy really helped.
What were some of the things that you did learn? Like as you were talking with your therapist, some strategies that they're like, hey, Cody, these are some things that you should do. These are some things that what is one of those things where you're just like, this was a revelation, this was a breakthrough for me, for you, not for me, but for you.
I can tell you specifically. Yeah. Basically, the first thing I had to learn was that anything that I feel, no matter what, let it happen. Basically, if I'm feeling anger, why am I feeling angry? Okay, see where that takes me. Feeling sad? All right, cry. See if you can think about why you're crying. Maybe you'll know, maybe you won't. Mm-hmm. If you're feeling anything, if you're feeling angry, scream, whatever it might be. I learned to take my emotions and let them work their way out to find the source, to be able to start healing. So basically, specifically, I didn't talk to Linz about Mia ever, at first. Yeah. I didn't feel comfortable. I felt like, if I say anything, I might ruin her day. Like if she's having a good day, I don't want to make her have a bad day. And that was a big thing, because then we started talking about her more, and that's all you want to do is talk about your child. And that was nice. That was a nice revelation. And I learned that it's okay to do other things in your life besides sit home and do nothing.
Yeah.
It's okay to go do something that you enjoy. It's okay to go for a drive. It's okay to go golfing. It's okay to go to the batting range. Whatever you want to do, you shouldn't feel guilty to do it,
Yeah.
because I felt a lot of guilt about not having grief. I was like, what's the issue? But I also wasn't doing anything. I was just at home and I was working. I went right back to work. I took 4 days off. That's all. I went right back to work. I went right back to it, and I just try to take more time for us. Yeah, I don't know. I learned how to become a more regulated emotional person, which really helped me. And I
Yeah.
think I'm very grateful for therapy, like honestly. And I think it's going to help me in more ways than just dealing with the death of my daughter. But that's what kickstarted it.
Those are some wise words. I remember when we were in the hospital, a couple of my siblings were there in the hospital with us, and we started talking about stupid things we did as siblings, and some of them we started laughing about, and I felt so much guilt. Like, here
Mm.
we are, I'm holding my son, my dead son, and I'm laughing and joking with my siblings, and I felt so guilty that I could have some happiness in the moment. And I just remember having so much guilt. And when you were saying the breakthrough in your therapy is to feel all your feelings. It's not just the sadness, it's not just the anger, it's not just the depression, but it's also feeling on the opposite end of the spectrum, to feel the happiness, to feel the joy, to feel all those feelings is what life is about. And
Mhm.
and I often have to say to myself, my child, my Brandon, he wants me to be a father. He wants me to be his father. He wants me to be a man. He wants me to be a husband. He wants me to be a friend. And if I'm stuck continuously mourning and depressed because of what happened, I'm not able to be a better person. And that was one thing that I learned in my therapy. It was like, you are going to feel all the litany of emotions, everything, and just feel them, embrace it. You don't have to be continuously mourning. I do mourn my son, and it's been a number of years for myself, and I still have love for him. I still find joy in him, but I still find pain. But I feel what I feel for him, and it's wonderful. So,
Yeah.
breakthroughs in counseling and therapy is always great.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys got to be open to, you have to be open to you have to deal with your grief.
Yeah.
If you don't, there's nothing good that can come of it. And, if you can figure it out on your own, I mean, awesome. I guess try it, but I don't think there's anything wrong with seeking some kind of
Yeah.
counsel when it comes to these things, because you need to know it's okay to feel or to not feel, or to like nobody has the same mourning,
Yeah.
but you're gonna mourn,
Yeah.
guaranteed.
Yeah.
It was just such a trauma that it was like I turtled,
Yeah.
and I was not prepared emotionally to deal with that, and I had to seek help to be able to do it, because I couldn't do it on my own.
Mhm.
And I'm so glad I did. And Mia's a part of my life every single day. And that makes me happy,
Yeah.
celebrating her. Like, just because she's not, physically here and I can't spook her or kiss her, I could still say goodnight to her every night
Mhm.
and say hi to her every time I walk by her, and celebrate her, birthday, celebrate her, original due date, and the
Mhm.
day Lindsay told me she was pregnant, and all of those things. Like, nothing will ever take away her existence at any time. It's not possible,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
she's alive through us. And, we tell everyone about her anytime we can. And it's wonderful. She really gave me strength that I didn't know I could have. It might have taken a couple months to get it, but, she really helped me become a better person and a dad. I'm grateful to her. And, I'm happy to say that Lindsay and I are the parents of a wonderful 5-month-old boy. And it's such a joy.
Yeah.
And I just love him so much as I love his sister. And there's nothing on earth like being a parent. And I wish we didn't have to go through what we did, but I'm grateful to Mia for potentially making a sacrifice for our family, because what Lynn's went through with the cervix, we knew when we got pregnant again that, okay, if there's a preventative measure like the cerclage on future pregnancies, we'll do that. And we
Mhm.
did. And when Linz was 12 weeks pregnant with Vinny, we got the cerclage in, and the pregnancy went perfectly. Full term, beautiful, wonderful boy, and because of Mia. That's the way I look at it.
The tapestry of life is sewn with all sorts of different threads, the good ones and the bad ones, that make who we are and how we interact with the world so amazing. And like you said, because of Mia, you are different people. You're better people, I hope you could say. And isn't it just wonderful that your daughter is blessing her siblings because of the experience that you and Lindsay had to go through and how that has changed you? Well, thank you, Cody.
Thank you.
It has been wonderful to talk with you. It has been wonderful to talk about your beautiful daughter, Mia. And we're so very sorry, but so very happy that you were able to come and speak with us.
Thank you for having me. And I'm sorry for your loss as well.
Thank you.